Alright, today I'm reviewing the Bullfighter D160SE, that's right. Usually I'm demoing much more expensive guitars, but today I'm demoing this, which has a value of $300 USD. So naturally I'm going to discuss if this is good for beginners. Please be sure to look at the timestamps because I'm going to be talking about many things here, including why I'm demoing this particular guitar. I'll also be doing a full mix demo with an original song using the onboard tones. Now before I jump in, I have to tell you that this review is in fact sponsored, and I owe it to you to explain why. So again, use the timestamps if you want to skip the yapping. So I'm not looking to do too many sponsored reviews, but I do have to say doing at least one sponsored review is one of my bucket list items. So I confirmed the terms of doing this review would be they give me the guitar and I do a video, and I confirmed that they would not screen what I was saying. I confirmed there were no topics that I would have to cover, so there were no points that they were going to give me to tell you. They literally just gave me a guitar to make a video on. Otherwise, I would not have done this. There's no way I'm going to be told what to say. So I'm going to be as objective as possible when talking about this, of course. But you do need to know that this was given to me, so therefore this video is sponsored, okay? So, first impressions of this guitar, and yes, they did give me the pink one. I had no say in what color. It just showed up and it was pink, and here you go. Now, I'm not knocking pink by any means. I do like the color pink. I do have to be honest. Pink and this kind of teal blue is not the color scheme I would go for, but the pink and the maple, the roasted maple, and the white pickguard, I do like this color scheme. I am a fan of the color pink to some extent. Of course, black and gold I'm kind of biased towards because my cat is black with yellow eyes. But in terms of guitars, the pink and the white pickguard, the maple, I do think it's pretty cool. I do wish this plate here was just flat pink and not some gradient. But again, I was given this guitar, so it is what it is. And I do gotta say too, the neck on this guitar feels really good. And the neck heel is this rounded thing here, which feels fantastic to get to the top frets. And that's really important when you're learning guitar. You don't want any impediments or anything that might make you feel discouraged when trying to learn how to play up top. And the picking hand feel, the bridge, the body, where the potentiometers are, it's the typical Strat copy feel. So you are going to kind of bump against that volume knob a bit. And this is a vintage feeling bridge. When I received this guitar, you can't see it, but I'll show you a close-up. There is a crack right here on the top of the neck heel, and it has gotten a little bigger as I've been using it. Does it affect the structural integrity of the neck? No. It's actually stayed in tune pretty good. But just first impressions opening up the guitar case and finding a crack here, not feeling the best. Also, the battery in here was not included, which was kind of a bummer. But it does say in the instruction manual what battery you need. I was able to find it on Amazon pretty quick. There are plenty of batteries available on Amazon Prime, so I got one. And it works. And then finally, in terms of first impressions, of course you're going to ask, how's the action? How does it play? And yes, it is a more budget guitar. And yes, the action was high. I did do some adjustments to the truss rod and the bridge height, and it helped for a bit, but it's going to need more adjustments. So now moving on to the electronics and the sound. I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, the electronics actually work. I had pretty low expectations, you know, being given a guitar and being in this price range. It's like, okay, it's going to sound a certain way. Maybe the features will even work too, but it's true. The features do work. You can see there's 4 buttons here for various levels of gain. It goes from clean to quote unquote metal. And a cool thing too is that when you push the buttons, there they are. When you push the buttons, there's 4 levels of delay / reverb. So when you push it, it's just the dry signal, but every time you click it after that, and it's color coded, it'll get more and more delay / reverb. So it goes from blue to red, so blue, green, yellow, red. And the red is the most delay, so that's actual delay. The blue, where it starts, is pretty dry. And then in between the intermediate ones are more reverb. I did notice that the active clean sound was a bit better sounding than just straight DI out, so that could be because of how it's wired. Of course, I did try it with my plugins, my presets that I use all the time, and not using the electronics, just using the DI out did sound miles better than using the electronics. But if you're just capturing the raw signal, using the electronics was worth it. Does it sound good? Are you gonna record the next hit album? Well, no, but it doesn't sound absolutely terrible. It's workable if you're practicing and learning the instrument, and it's also a lot better than nothing. I could see beginners, maybe younger guitar players, using this in lieu of the plugins that we have adult money to buy, you know what I mean? And they could use it and they could record a demo and it would sound like a guitar. And again, for the full mix demo, I'm going to be using only the onboard tones. I'm not going to be using my plugins, just to show you how it sounds. Another interesting thing is that it comes with a drum machine. So you can turn on the drum machine, choose the drum style, and also the speed. It's a tap tempo. This is actually pretty cool, and I kind of wish I had this when I was learning guitar. Practicing with a drum machine is kind of like playing with some bandmates, although of course it's more on tempo, but the point is playing with someone is the best way to get better at the instrument. So using a drum machine would have helped me so much when I was learning guitar. Learning to stay on tempo and sync with the drums and lock in, that would be so good. I do have to say that the drum machine is a bit louder than the guitar signal, so that does help when you're playing to hear it. That makes it a good practice tool. But if you're thinking of recording with it, like if you're going to use the onboard drum machines to record and then record guitar, I recommend doing it like that. Just record the drum track for how many measures you need, and then record the guitar, because the volume on it, the drums will overpower the guitar. And so speaking of recording and playing, let's talk about how it feels to play this guitar. What's the playing experience of this? So I gotta admit, this guitar plays better than the beginner Squire I got when I was learning. Maybe that's not a surprise because this is a $300 guitar and the Squire I got was $100 something, so it better play better. But that Squire almost made me quit, and this guitar is fairly tolerable. But thinking back when I was first starting out and then playing this guitar, does this guitar play at least twice as good as what I started with? And the answer is yes. Yes, it does. There were adjustments needed for the truss rod when I got this, and it comes with the Allen keys to do that, and also the bridge height. And after doing that, did the setup stick? Kind of. This guitar will need more adjustment to get to where I want it, but it was tolerable to record the demo. I was able to write and record with this. And I do have to say also that this guitar stayed in tune better than I thought it would. Again, my first guitar, that $100-something Squire, the absolute worst guitar I've ever played. I'm really glad I don't have that now. But this guitar, it did stay in tune through most of the tracking I did. So for a beginner guitar, I'm pretty impressed. Of course, when trying to play the more faster parts, like the few shred things that I know how to do, that was starting to get more dubious. That wasn't too great, especially when the setup wasn't sticking and it was starting to go back to having the higher action. That was a bit annoying. So if you're really looking to shred, maybe this guitar isn't right for you. Of course, for playing, as I mentioned, the body does feel like the Strat copy. It's got that forearm cutaway. It's got the pick guard, the 3 pickups. I would personally lower the middle pickup so that your picking hand isn't impeded. Your guitar pick isn't impeded. The vintage style bridge, it is what it is. Not the best for the metal chugs. Of course, you can get the job done. And the volume knob, it's right here, just like on a Strat. So if your playing technique has your fingers out here like this, you are going to hit it. You do have to curl in a bit. You'll notice on my personal Strat, I've actually removed the volume knob from here because of that. So that's how it is to play. Now let's get to the question you have if you've watched this far. Do I recommend this guitar? So I'm going to get right to it. If you're a beginner, do I recommend this guitar? Yes. And I'll tell you why. The drum machine is an insanely powerful tool for getting better. You can do the tap tempo to make it as fast as you need, and you can practice playing with the drums, staying in time, and that is a super valuable skill to have as a musician. Of course, too, the tones, are they production ready? Are they mix ready? Are you going to release the next guitar album hit with these tones? Probably not. But are they absolutely terrible? No, they get the job done if you're practicing. So as a beginner, that's also valuable to have too. Now, if you're an intermediate guitar player or an advanced guitar player, would this guitar be right for you? Of course not. It is a more beginner-oriented guitar. The fact of the matter is that budget guitars are not a replacement for mid-tier or high-end guitars. Cheaper guitars work, but they hurt more to play. It's going to be much harder to play an entry-level guitar and play all your fast runs and shred stuff than it is a mid-tier or high-end guitar. And it's not really the fault of the guitar. It was built to a price point, so it came into this world being the way it is. It's never going to be as robust, as good sounding and easy playing as a much more expensive guitar. That's why the guitars are more expensive. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that a beginner level, entry level guitar that's built to a budget price point is the only thing you need and you don't need your multi-$1,000 guitars. That would just be a lie. Now, more meaningful question is the $300 USD price point. Is that worth it for a beginner? Is it too steep? Should a beginner be paying this kind of money to be getting into guitar? And there are multiple levels and ages of beginner. There's the pre-teens, the teenagers getting into guitar. And of course, there's the older crowd who's getting into guitar too. So as I mentioned, the built-in tones are useful when you're starting out. The drum machine is a great tool. And as you advance, you can turn off the electronics so that you have a versatile humbucker single guitar. And you can use that for your band practices, even some shows too. And then the advantage of having a cheaper guitar is that as you're playing shows, as you're performing, when the guitar does inevitably get damaged, that's life, it's going to be a lot less heartbreaking to damage a $300 guitar than a $3,000 guitar. You know what I mean? Of course, it will never play as well as a $3,000 guitar. But as long as it plays well enough and you can do all the things you need to do, because these are tools to help us make music to serve the song. So as long as it does what you need it to do, that's good enough. That being said, would I personally buy this guitar? No, I would not. That's because I don't need the features. I have enough gear, enough software, enough plugins that I can do everything this does, but better. I have my Neuro DSP plugins, I have my DAW, I have all of my drum plugins. If I was looking for a beater guitar that I wouldn't care if it got damaged, even a mid-range guitar would be better for me. But that's because I know how to play guitar, I know what I'm looking for. I don't need to compromise on playing feel, on setup robustness, etc. But if I was a beginner and I was looking at this guitar, again, I would recommend it. If you know you're going to stick with playing guitar, it would be better to invest in a more expensive instrument to get. If you're going to stick with it, don't get the absolute lowest, cheapest guitar that's going to be more painful to play, because that's going to make you want to quit. If you think maybe you're more at risk of giving up, then sure, a cheap guitar just to see if that's going to be the thing you want to do, okay, I can understand that. If you're the kind of person who sticks to something they're doing, even if it's difficult or hard to do, then a more expensive guitar would be a good choice, because you're going to want to stick with it more. So something like this, or even a mid-range guitar, would be good to get and learn on. It's going to be a lot less painful to learn on. And speaking of learning, there's the question then. I did mention that this would require probably multiple setups, because I set this up. It didn't quite stick, so it will need setup again. You're going to need to learn how to set up your guitar eventually. That's going to be something you're going to have to do. Seasons change, it gets hotter, colder, humidity changes. You need to understand how the wood in the guitar, the neck especially, is going to react to that. You'll need to adjust the truss rod. You need to learn how to adjust the bridge height, etc. It will be good to learn how to do your own setup, but it will also be good to get a guitar that's good feeling to play. That's not going to impede you. So if you know you're the kind of person who's going to stick with it, even when it's difficult, you have to ask yourself then, how difficult should it be to use the tool that you're using. I think this hits a good sweet spot for beginner versus intermediate guitar, where it is definitely a beginner level guitar, but it's quality enough that you can stick with it. But I am also biased by, of course, having stuck with guitar, knowing that this is something I want to do. I want to make music that I'm releasing on the internet, that I'm making YouTube videos for, and that I'm discussing with people like you, the viewer. And in that case, I personally wouldn't go with a beginner level guitar like this. I would start at least at the intermediate level. And of course, I'm not saying that this isn't a fabulous beginner guitar, but for my needs, and because I'm also working a day job, of course, I'm tired, my hands are tired, I'm getting on in the years, I've got inflammation, stuff like that. Is having a guitar I'm gonna have to adjust so frequently, or else it's gonna be a little painful to play? Is that worth it for me? Personally, no. But if you're not playing as much, if you're just learning, if you could benefit from a built-in drum machine and effects because you don't have all the other gear and equipment yet, as we know, gear acquisition syndrome, or GAS, is a real thing as you play guitar, as you get on. As you get more experience, you're going to want more guitars, as you can clearly see. If you're going to stick with it, these features might start to feel more gimmicky, but as beginner level stuff, it does feel more like tools to use. I could totally see myself as a beginner level guitarist back when I was 15. Getting something like this, downloading a free DAW, like Reaper or something, and figuring out how to record the signal, getting that drum machine in, and then playing guitar to make my own songs. Because that's effectively what I did when I was first a beginner. I was just recording the guitar signal and trying to make songs. And was it good? Absolutely not. But it was something, and it was a great learning experience. So having access to drums or a drum machine, that would have helped just a little bit more. So I think what I'm trying to say is that if you're an absolute beginner and you're looking for a useful tool, this could fill that role pretty well. If you're someone more focused and you know you're going to absolutely go the distance without any question, which I think is pretty rare, then maybe this guitar won't be right. So I'm going to move on to the full mix demo next. Again, I'm going to be using the onboard tones, but in the meantime, this is YouTube. I have to say the YouTube things. Okay, sorry. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, print out every frame and mail it. And as always, peace.